Hello everyone, how you going? And welcome to Moving to Canada 10 Pros and Cons. Now obviously every single country in the world is going to be having pros and cons, and I just want to know what Canada's are because I'm generally quite interested in the country, and even though I feel as though visiting is definitely more of the on the horizon thing than actually moving to, I either way just want to know some pros and cons.
When I travel abroad, I often meet people that are interested in moving to Canada, but I always wonder, how much do they actually know about the country? In this video, I will share with you 10 pros and cons to living in the birthplace of pineapple pizza. So sorry about that. Pro number one.
No. I cannot let that one slide. You don't have to be sorry about anything. I am not going to be having a divisive argument about someone saying that pineapple does not belong in the pizza, because I don't care what you say. It makes it sweet, it makes it juicy, and with a little bit of ham thrown in there. I mean, I don't really know why it's called Hawaiian if it was made in Canada, but that's beside the point. Either way, I agree with the fact pineapple should be on pizza, and if you don't agree with me, then, well, I guess I'm not going to have an argument with you because I'm just right.
Place of pineapple pizza. So sorry about that. Pro number one. People are nice. And yes, you do hear people say sorry a lot.
Dang.
In fact, there's a law called the Apology Act, and it says that just because someone says sorry, it doesn't mean that they are guilty. Like, for example, in a car accident.
Dang.
Now, this polite thing can be a con as well.
Oh, wait.
Like, for example, in a car accident. Just because someone says sorry, it doesn't mean that they are guilty.
Just because someone says sorry doesn't mean they're guilty. Oh, right. So people are actually just like apologizing, which kind of immediately puts the blame on them when it's actually not the case. And they have an entire law around that. That's great.
Now, this polite thing can be a con as well, because people are not straightforward. And I don't know about you, but I prefer someone be straightforward with me than give me a polite fake smile. You experience...
Wait, I don't even know what he's talking about there. Is he saying that they're just kind of saying sorry and not kind of expressing their true emotions, you know? Even if they weren't to blame in terms of the car accident example that he produced, is that they're just going to say sorry either way, even though they're just going, you bastard, you were at fault, I can't believe you did this. They'll just go, yes, sorry. And so I guess I'm just wondering, is he upset that they're not really coming forward and being aggressive, or I guess maybe sometimes they are being fake about it? But either way, I feel as though you can't have nice people and also have people saying sorry and just not generally being nice. I feel as though you can actually pick up on when someone's being genuine or not.
You experience the 4 seasons within the year. It's beautiful to see the color of the leaves change with every season, but this can be a con too. Although it can be hot in the summer, it's very cold and dark in the winter. And outside of summer, the weather is usually unpredictable. Now, during the winter, you will not feel cold inside your house, but I hate shoveling the snow and stepping into slush.
Oh no, I mean that is certainly something that I have never had to deal with, and I'm kind of glad because I see these videos. I mean, people seem to buy bobcats and all these other kind of loaders just to be able to move the snow if they have a long driveway, and really I can absolutely understand that, because just to be able to waking up at, I mean, I guess it's going to be dark, but it feels like 4 a.m. because it's dark. Meanwhile, considering it's still snowing at the same time, you're just fighting an uphill battle because you're just shoveling more and more snow and it's just falling in. So yeah, that certainly doesn't sound like a good thing. I mean, in saying that, I am interested to know more about how the building code and all the entire structures are actually built in terms of keeping all the hot air in and all the, obviously the cold air out during the winters. But at the same time, how does that work in summer? Because I've heard from many people, and even he said it a little bit, but people have said that it gets way hotter than I have ever expected it to get. You know, I expected it to be like a minus 40 to maybe positive 20 kind of country, but it's not. It's like 80 degrees, minus 40 to plus 40. It's crazy. I don't understand how you can do that. I mean, perhaps some people are just running massive inverters through ducted systems and just having aircon during the summer and then heating during the winter, because otherwise I don't know how you would do that. I mean, I guess I understand that insulation kind of works both ways, but it's not that simple generally. You want a little bit of airflow, and Australian houses are built a little bit more around that. And even just the fact that he said that they were unpredictable. I mean, I guess we can have some unpredictable weather in terms of lightning and storms and things and floods maybe, but snow, never.
Canada is the most multicultural country in the world. Toronto is also the most multicultural city in the world. Here you can find a Chinatown, Koreatown, and many little countries throughout the city. So
yeah, right, I wonder what kind of metrics he's getting that off, but anyway, I guess I can certainly just take it for what it is. I mean, I know that Australia is quite a multicultural country, and I'm sure the US would also be considered a multicultural country, because I would like to know how close are some other countries, the UK, the US, Australia, New Zealand even. I would love to know all of those different kind of Western ones in comparison.
I think this can be a con as well. We are not a melting pot, so in many cases people stick to their own kind or culture.
Alrighty then, well I've kind of somehow only just grasped the entire concept of this video by showing kind of a pro and a con of the same thing. When I read it as pros and cons, I expected it to be like 5 pros and cons or 10 pros and cons each separately, not one that he actually just goes, oh yeah, this is a pro, but oh, this is actually kind of a con as well. I mean, like I said, I don't know how I didn't realize that earlier, but I'm certainly liking the format because you go, oh, it's kind of a good talking point. You go, okay, this is a good side, but realistically, when you just look into it, people stick to their own culture, and yeah, you've kind of got a lot of different races and ethnicities in the country, but no one's really mixing it all. I mean, I guess that it kind of comes back to the entire fact where I watched the most Asian city in the world, no, a most Asian city outside of Asia video that I watched, and yes, that certainly seemed to starting to be changing. You know, obviously there was a massive Asian population, and so many stores and things were actually just becoming Asian stores that you would generally only find in Japan or China or Korea or things like that, and that's certainly a great thing in terms of supporting the population that is actually living there. But in terms of the beginning, it was kind of an us versus them situation they were talking about, but at least now it seemed to starting to be changing a little bit.
Canada is a liberal country and accepting of everyone. We legalized gay marriage in 2005. The people that work in the government are half men, half women, and many come from different backgrounds. In fact, our defense minister is Sikh. Growing and smoking weed is legal. You can order it online from a government website. Choose the type you like and it gets delivered straight to your home.
Hang on, there was so much to kind of unpack here. He's got A, B, C, D things. Because first of all, he said that in 2005 gay marriage was illegal, and so I wonder if that was one of the first countries in the world. That would be interesting to know, because I am fairly sure that out of the 4 Western countries, the US was next, or maybe the UK. Really, I think Australia was probably last, because we took forever. Oh, and then I've just realized that I was wondering why I was so confused and how it suddenly just got all the way to there. But look, A, C, he's just completely missed D. But anyway, that's certainly an interesting thing. I wonder how you manage that, because I've never heard of it to that degree. That sounds a little bit forced, and so I guess there's 2 sides to the equation. It sounds good in theory, but what if you just don't have the numbers? I mean, I wonder how that entire thing works, and if you are forced to vote for different people. I mean, I'm sure it's not just kind of a you must vote for this entire person because you have no other options kind of situation. I'm sure there's plenty of variety, and especially given all the ethnicities. What did you say, the defense minister is Sikh?
And many come from different backgrounds. In fact, our defense minister is Sikh.
Yeah, there we go. So I guess in that regard, you have like you said, you have many different cultures and religions and all these different people just living there. But I wonder how it actually just gets mixed in terms of the parliament and everything. And then I guess just moving on to this entire one, it's a complete change of gear. We're gone from parliament to, I kind of guess it's parliament in a way. It's all under the very broad bracket in terms of what is put under a very progressive country. But either way, I guess the fact that it's just a government website. I mean, I know a lot of people worldwide are kind of in support for things like this, because it's like, oh, well, it's either going to happen illegally or you just tax it to make money. Surely the government was just going to want one, but they just don't seem to do it in a lot of places. And I mean, I guess it's certainly not a very simple thing to kind of set up and run and make sure that's not being abused to a certain extent, but at the same time, like I said, it's either illegal or legal and making money, or like cigarettes, just taxing the hell out of them.
The con is that as an extreme liberal country, our culture has become very politically correct.
Right.
So you better watch what you say.
Fair enough.
Canada's the most educated country in the world. 56% of adults have received an education after high school.
Really? Because I saw another video that said Australia was the most educated country in the world, with Canada only having 16 years, and then Australia just blowing everyone else out of the water. I think Canada was 3rd, but Australia was 1st, and we had something like 23 years of schooling. It was insane, and so I don't know who to believe anymore. Now I'm just kind of a 50-50 split. Either way, education-wise, Canada, America, UK, Australia, everyone's doing just fine.
Education in Canada is expensive. It may be cheap compared to the US, but it's certainly expensive when compared to the rest of the world. On average, an undergrad will cost $6,838 a year. Many students take a loan from the government and pay it off after they graduate.
Well, I would have to do a whole bundle of things, and really that I don't even know if you could get an average cost, because the costs are constantly changing in Australia, and even I don't even know if they're different state to state or uni to uni. So I'm sure there's just a little bit of background research that would have to go into trying to figure out a number like that for Australia, and I'm sure any country, but either way, I certainly don't have it, and so I don't really know. Either way, I don't think it is that low in Australia. I mean, there are obviously quite a few courses that are the high-end courses, like let's say medicine, which is 100,000 plus, whatever. IT is also one of them, I'm fairly sure, but then nursing and an arts degree and things like that are generally low, but I don't think they would be close to 18,000. They'd probably be more like 30,000, I believe. And then also the main difference, I guess, no, not houses are big. Yes, we'll get there in a sec, but just the fact that he said when you have to take it out of the bank. And so at least Australia has an entire thing set up where it's called HEX. And so I guess you basically get a loan from the government. And that is just in order to cover all of your expenses and everything associated with the uni and even TAFE, I think, or maybe not. I don't even know if TAFE's covered. Either way, the entire thing is actually just centralized around the idea that you don't have to pay a cent until you actually earn above $40,000-ish dollars. And so you can just literally have a virtually free interest rate kind of situation on your quite large bill if you actually just go over and over and over again to uni. And so it just alleviates all of that stress. And so people just kind of worry about it later. And it's even just kind of auto paid out and taken out of your entire tax return or your payments as you actually just get paid later in life, whatever it may be. There are so many different ways, but at least you just don't have to pay it up front. And so I guess in saying that, he did also say that there was a loan from the government. And so I wonder if it's a very similar system or not.
Many students take a loan from the government and pay it off after they graduate. Houses are big. This is something else that I took for granted. In North America, houses are usually 3 floors. There's the ground floor, the second floor, and a basement which goes underground.
Oh.
They also typically have a garage and a backyard.
Damn, a basement. I mean, I don't know if there's a single Australian house that has a basement. I feel as though generally if people are going to choose, they're going to go into the roof instead of the basement. I don't really think that's a thing. I mean, maybe that's just because the entire kind of heating and cooling element of that underground floor would just be a nightmare, I think.
Now the con is houses are expensive. In Toronto, an average house will cost $828,000. Now, of course, that depends on the city where you live, but typically houses are expensive in Canada, which makes no sense because we're the biggest country with a small population and our houses are made of wood and we have a lot of trees.
True, that's a little bit of a strange one. I had never thought about that. The fact that their houses are made of trees. I mean, a lot of houses are made of trees unless you're going steel and concrete. But either way, I just want to take it back to 828,000 because I would like to know where that Toronto circle of 828,000 includes. Because if you were saying that you can get a house for 828,000, I'm moving straight to Canada. That is just half Sydney prices, honestly.
Universal healthcare. Healthcare outside of vision and dental is covered. Of course, it's not free, it comes from paying taxes. But the con to this is that the healthcare system is slow. You will wait for hours in the emergency room to see someone unless you have like a heart condition or something like that.
Yeah.
And it can take 3 months and sometimes more to see a specialist.
Australia is the same. There's not much else to say. You can go to the private sector, and if you earn above a certain amount, $90,000, you're kind of more incentivized to go through the private sector because you're just going to get taxed to pay for the same thing either way, and so you might as well just go down there. But if you are just going to be in the public sector, it's great for so many people. It helps out millions of people every single year, but they just physically don't have the volume or the budget because it's paid by everyone. And so I can understand why it can sometimes be slow, but at least it's there, I guess.
Canada has a small population. Unless you live downtown in the city, it's never crowded and there's a lot of space, which is why the government welcomes new immigrants each year. Now, the con to that, of course, is that it's expensive to get around. If you don't live downtown in a major city like Toronto, you're definitely going to need a car. And it's more expensive to fly within Canada than outside to somewhere like Florida in the US.
Wait, what? Hang on a second. He just said that it was cheaper to fly to Florida from Canada than it is to fly domestically. I mean, I guess that might be similar with us if you're living on the major East Coast and you're trying to get to Perth versus New Zealand. Maybe Perth is going to be more expensive, but I think it's actually pretty comparable, and that's kind of the furthest you can go away. And so to make sure that Florida is cheaper than traveling domestically, I would love to know how that is. I mean, maybe it's just a volume of flights kind of thing, but I don't really feel as though that's how it works generally with airlines. And look, we've certainly covered it before. Australia, Canada, big countries, very rural if you go out of the cities, and so car check, public transport cross, no check. And I certainly feel as though it's pretty understandable because there's no way you're going to be able to put in a train line and a bus line and all these different, I guess, public services for 10 people if they're living in, I don't know, 100-kilometer radius. And so even though that does mean that people are quite heavily reliant on their cars, I feel as though there isn't really any other way to do it currently in these modern times that we're living in. It's just not that modern yet.
It's easy to find things you need. If you want to go grocery shopping, you can go to Walmart. If you want a coffee, you can go to Tim Hortons. And if you need a pharmacy, you can go to Shoppers Drug Mart. And wherever you travel in Canada, you'll find these exact same stores. This is also a big con because these are big corporations and very hard to compete with. I love the charm of restaurants and stores in places like Europe, where every store is a small pop and mom shop They're different. You see people inside drinking coffee or having tea, and there's a charm to it. We don't really have that here.
Now this one's a little bit of a difficult one to kind of compare because I have no direct comparison between Canada and Australia from a real point of view sense. I can go, oh yes, well Australia has this, but then I guess Canada also has this, and then Australia doesn't have this, and Canada also doesn't have this. From what I've heard, we both have little cafes, and then we also have quite large chains. I mean, I guess there would be a couple of major chains, I guess like a Tim Hortons kind of thing. However, I'm fairly sure that from what I've heard in the comments and even just from videos, I would believe that Tim Hortons would kind of be of a bigger chain than anything we have in Australia. I mean, maybe, oh no, I really don't feel as though we have anything to compete with. I mean, Gloria Jeans would be the biggest one I can think of off the top of my head, but I don't really know anyone that actually gets it unless you're going there for maybe some other food as well, or it's the only one around. I don't really know anyone else that would actually go, oh, thank goodness we're going there. Like, it doesn't really happen. They're going to be going to some random cafe on a corner over the Gloria Jeans or Tim Hortons, I would think. And then in terms of the Walmart, doesn't exist. We have Costco, but only really one. We don't really have any superstores like that. We only really have shopping centers and I guess supermarkets being Woolies, Coles and Aldi and IGA, if you want to include IGA.
The nature in Canada is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Canada is home to places that you can describe as heaven on earth, like Banff and Lake Louise. But you don't have to travel to Alberta to find beautiful nature. Canada has endless trails, mountains, lakes, and animals, which is something that I appreciate because I love going on long jogs in nature. There's really no con to this.
Oh, well, that's only a good thing to hear. I was going to say, how is he going to turn this into a con? I mean, I'm sure maybe he's going to say, oh, we have bears or something. And I was going to be like, well, I don't know, maybe just avoid them in the same way that Australia doesn't see rattlesnakes and, well, not that they have rattlesnakes, brown snakes and red-bellied blacks and all of those kind of things. We don't just see them lurking around every day, and you can generally avoid them. And so, no, really, just there seems to be so much incredible nature in landscape and everything in Canada. Like I've said a million times, it's a very similar country to actually visit, but at the same time, if you actually just go rurally and look at the landscape, it's nothing like Australia. You know, we're very deserty and quite dry overall, and in Canada, with what, 2 to 3 million lakes, I would hardly say that it's a very dry country. And even the fact that obviously as you go more and more north, you just have more and more snow, because we checked out the Inuit and that was incredible as well. And so yeah, there are so many different things about Canada, but just incredible how these two British colonies have just diverged. But no, that was a great little video, and really just once I got my head around the concept about him going, oh, pro, oh, con, then I was just actually a great format going, oh, well, you actually might think this and that might be true, but it also comes with, like everything, a little bit of some negative connotations, or maybe not. In terms of the last one, you can actually just have your wilderness and enjoy it too. And look, I'm sure that there are a few things that he said that probably apply to some areas more than others. You know, he said Toronto in there, but let's just go to the East Coast, or obviously up north, there's not really anything in terms of what he was talking about here. I can't imagine, or maybe there would be. Remember, that's the one thing that would be up there would be a Tim Hortons. If just all the way up the North Pole would be a Tim Hortons, that's where actually lives up there. Like I've said before, it's just great to gather all of these different people's opinions, so you can go, oh, okay, so you are kind of a multicultural country, but you're not really a melting pot, or you are this, but you're not this. And so whatever it may be, you kind of just pick and choose and average out the entire thing to just form a really good picture of what the country is. I mean, in saying that, my picture of Canada is absolutely stellar. I'm just enjoying it so much, and I just can't wait to find out more and more and more, and everyone just keeps filling me in on all these details that they might have missed or I might have gotten wrong, whatever it may be. I just feel as though Canada, Australia, you're just living life if you're just living in those countries. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then make sure to check out just any other videos we've done. I've done heritage minutes, I've done Canadian videos, I've done international videos, and I guess also make sure to check out the original video in the description below. And hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.